crows are they belong to this genus called corvids, and they are among the most intelligent bird species. I think with bulls that's a misconception that they respond to the color red. I think they are dichromatic. They see in black and white, so they don't see the color red. You're talking about the bullfighting rings in Spain. I think those got banned because there was also a lot of injuring the animal during the process.
What happens when a tiger comes in front of you accidentally, and how should humans respond to it?
So we know love, we know jealousy, we know hatred, we know anger, we know happiness, we know sadness. And beyond this, we also don't know how else to feel. So you are only feeling these few emotions at any given point of time.
Because you're told or you're conditioned to.
Yeah, because that's how much we are required to feel as a species.
What are the calls? Monkeys are the most famous ones, right? The calls in the jungle when the tiger is coming and all of that.
Yeah, they are they're called the sentries of the jungle. So they sit atop trees and then they call out the moment they see a predator. So they will give out these alarm calls, followed by peacocks and then followed by deer.
Villagers, they have a mask put onto their head so that they can scare the tiger off.
That was in Sundarban. So because tigers usually prefer to attack from the back, so they thought that they wore the masks. So they have their face in the front and a mask at the back. So the tiger would get confused. But I think that sort of backfired over time, and then the tigers are attacking from both sides.
Forest usually isn't just about trees and trails. It breathes, bleeds, and battles every single day. So today, let's dive into one of the wildest hearts of the forest, being Bandipur. Because in the studio, here we have Dr. Vaseem, who is a senior vet with Bandipur Tiger Reserve. And he's also the wildlife medicine specialist, coming all the way from New Zealand, and offering services with Bangalore's Bannerghatta Zoo, and lot of things that I'm sure which his journey is going to unfold a lot of things and questions for us. So firstly, Doctor, welcome to Just Curious India. You're here for the second time, I guess, after our first conversation on Just Curious Kannada. Thank you so much for doing this again for us. Firstly, welcome, and how are you? What's up?
Thank you, madam. Thank you for having me for the second time. Always a pleasure to sit and chat with you. I'm doing well, thanks. And I hope I can provide new insights apart from what we had discussed last time and make it equally exciting this time as well.
Absolutely. This time it's English, right? I think we have whole of India, whole of the world watching us, trying to understand the animals through the human instinct. So firstly, what's up? Where are you coming from and how is the day so far?
It's been good, madam. So I've come from Mysore, where my base is. I'm based out of Mysore. And so I've come here to your studio specifically to have this podcast with you.
So for people, usually animals are fascination, fear. But for somebody like you who's seen it all, what does an animal, especially in the wild, mean?
I don't think anybody has seen it all, ma'am. I think every animal, right from the smallest insect up until I think the largest walking mammal, I think they all throw different insights, and they have a way of surprising you every single day. And every interaction with whatever species that you have the good luck or fortune of interacting with will never cease to amaze you. It can be as simple as a crow nesting near your house, which a lot of people don't even pay attention to because it's so commonly seen and found. But when you sit and observe them, you realize at what level the IQs are and how they can sit and plan and connive sometimes to get their work done. And a lot of people don't observe it. But if you do, you will realize something as common as a house crow can be so surprising. You can spend half a day just looking at a crow also maybe. So,
like, could you kind of just throw more insights on that? Because crow in probably a city is all about a black bird coming and just making that kaka noise, and then it's also seen as a bad omen. But here you are sitting and telling us about the IQ of the bird.
Crows they belong to this genus called corvids, and they are among the most intelligent bird species. Among the most, they're not the most, but they're among the most intelligent species because I think they have adapted to an urban sort of a lifestyle, and they've had to come up with ways to survive and look for food, and even they still hunt to this day. those birds are predators sometimes. Although they're omnivores, they actively do hunt, and they also scavenge. So they found a way to survive among people.
No wonder there's
And
a famous story, right? The pebble and the
yeah,
water
the
story.
thirsty crow.
Right,
The
right.
same experiment was replicated in the UK, and the crows did manage to bring up the water level and then take a sip out of. I think you probably will find it online. It's very much there, and there are so many other experiments also that they have done.
Like?
I think they've done experiments wherein they've got the birds to choose the right shape to fit into a certain block that would open a treat box, and then identify between colors. And yeah, so there are quite a few experiments done with corvids, ravens and crows both, and that's how they've realized that this species is
Is it
so
actually true
intelligent.
that, they carry omens and then they carry messages, especially when death is approaching you and all of that? I mean, any insights on that from the science lens?
I don't think so. I think, yes, scientifically speaking, they were associated with the idea of death because they would scavenge. So they were found on sites where the bodies would still be decomposing or not fully. And I'm not talking about humans, just humans. So generally, human bodies are disposed of in a ceremonious manner.
Right.
But you would see these other roadkills, like your dead dogs and dead cats and dead mice. So those are just thrown on the side of the road. And
Right.
I'm talking about today, but even before, you would always see dead animals rotting. At some point, everybody has seen it. And it would always be associated with the presence of crows because they would scavenge off.
For food.
So those are your urban vultures in a way.
Right.
And so that, I think, started associating crows with the idea of death. And then, because like I said, they were so intelligent that I think over time they realized that, you would see them in areas where, like cemeteries or these
where the shards happen.
yeah,
right?
these public disposal sites of dead bodies, and you would see them around, and I think that's where the whole idea came about. But I don't think the poor bird has to be regarded
It's
as
got
a
no special spiritual powers. It's all about the intelligence, like you mentioned.
yeah, there's just a fight for survival, I think. And I think it's a good it's a very good natural disposal system also, if you think of it.
True that.
Yeah.
Since you've come from Mysore, I think we just spoke about how it is to understand the animal in the wild. So, out of general curiosity, how does your day look like in Bandipur? Like, what's your normal day like?
So my normal is very different from, I think,
Normal.
the regular normal. So there's work every day. So there's different kinds of work that we do.
As in?
It's sometimes not always involving wildlife. So it's not like I go into the jungle and then I spend time with animals and then I come out. So my work is it's quite structured. So I deal with postmortems of dead animals. So the whole idea behind a postmortem of a dead animal is that we investigate the major cause of death. It's like a crime scene because we don't know how or when the animal has died. So then we identify if the animal has died of disease, of any illegal human intervention, or if there's something new that has not happened before but it has happened now, and if we need to take control of the cause of death. So we investigate the cause of death, and I may spend maybe, depending on how big the animal is, 2 or 3 hours during the postmortem, but the next whole week is gone in trying to analyze what happened. Yeah, then apart from that, we do attend to these calls of human-wildlife conflict, like stray animals, stray elephants, stray tigers sometimes, stray leopards, or it can just be even a stray wild boar. So so we attend to conflict, and it's not just Bandipur where I work. So I think right now I think there are about 3 veterinarians, wildlife veterinarians in the whole state. So we have to go far out and beyond wherever the necessity is to deal with the situation of conflict. So that's there. And then apart from that, we also do a lot of certification of these wildlife trade articles that sometimes get seized by our department, by the police. And so we certify whether those are genuine wildlife articles that have been seized. Sometimes there are a lot of fakes.
Articles as in your tiger's claw?
It can be anything. It can be something as simple as, it's not just deep jungle wildlife, even urban wildlife articles are also seized more than often.
Urban as an example?
You would have these owl feathers, barn owl feathers, Alexandrine parakeet feathers. So it can
even
start.
that has
Yeah,
a
those are
market?
all trinkets, and like you would have seen
dream
these
catchers
dream catchers, and they all have to do something or the other with superstition. And the jackal fur, tail of a spotted deer. Then we also have, very rarely we have ivory and canines and claws which get seized. Pelts, elephant tail fur,
Hair.
tail hair. So, but a lot of them are also fakes. So we have to certify that they are not genuine also. So that also takes up quite a bit of work on my end.
For a layman's understanding, how do I identify if the elephant's hair is original or duplicate? Like,
No, you cannot look at it and tell. So there are ways for different articles. There are different guidelines. Like for example, how they test for ivory is that they usually trim off the horns of your Halikar or Amrut Mahal cows, bulls, the bullocks, and then those are cast into resin, or they are also sometimes painted or made to look like the tusk of an elephant. More often than not, it is not ivory at all,
So
but it looks exactly like ivory.
Then how do I identify
So there are ways. So for example, in for ivory, so there's something called Schreger lines.
Schreger lines?
Schreger lines. So those are microscopic lines. Sometimes if the tusk is big enough, you can see it macroscopically also with your naked eye. Under the microscope, obviously, and under UV light, it's very easy to see. It's those are you can Google them. You'll get it's a very beautiful pattern of symmetrical lines. And it can even be a 1 millimeter piece of ivory. You can look under the microscope and you'll see those lines. It doesn't have to be a solid piece. So those lines are found only on ivory objects. And those are not possible to replicate. Humanly not possible to replicate.
So if it is fine and if it is polished?
If it is powdered, obviously you will have to send it for testing. Species identification. You have to do DNA testing you have to look for the elephant DNA in that sample. But if you're talking about even like a small ring or a earring or something, like a trinket that has been made, so you will find those lines on that also.
The ones we've usually seen is all very finely polished and it's like all
It can
shiny.
be polished. Even if it's polished, you can take a cross section and you'll see it.
Ah.
Yeah, as long as it's not powdered. If it's powdered, obviously, then I think that also doesn't have much value. So they're usually not found in powdered form. But so like that, we've got for canines, we've got a carnassial line that goes along the tooth. So sometimes these dead dog teeth are passed off as leopard teeth. So canines don't. So if you observe the canines of a leopard or even a house cat, so you will see a line, a groove that runs through the canine. It's only found in the canines of felids, of cats. So dogs don't have that. So these are small anatomical changes, differences that we have studied and we've learnt. And then then we get to certify them based on those findings.
So today I think ivory, it's all completely banned, right? You can't buy it or...
Yeah, it's been banned since 1972, since the Wildlife Protection Act. Any contact with anything that has to do with anything that belongs to a wild animal is banned.
So today,
it's as simple as that.
Like as a collectible, like passed on through generations and all of that, even that is illegal to
No,
have
I
it?
think there was a clause wherein if it has been passed down, you could notify and get certificates done or hand them over to museums through the department, through the forest department's knowledge. So then they would judge, case by case they would judge who's allowed to keep, who's supposed to donate, and whose stock has to be decimated. So it was a very case by case scenario. So I think, but as long as you're bringing it to the knowledge of the government, I think they will take a call on whether you're allowed to keep or not. But I think in today's day and age, it's an absolute no-no.
So now you have a plethora of things that you get to handle, depending on the situation, right, in the jungle. Like some days it is post-mortem, some days it is... Like you did mention about the illegal human activity. So usually when you do your post-mortem on the animal body, how do you identify these illegal human interventions? Like,
no, those inside the jungle, those don't happen. But sometimes we see them on the fringes. And it doesn't have to be forest fringe. So like I said, wildlife is not just restricted to the jungle. So there are so many species that are found in your urban areas that also are listed under the Wildlife Protection Act. Putting snares is a very common problem.
What is a snare?
So what people tend to do is they use a clutch cable or a thin wire, and that is it's tied into a knot, like a slip knot. So the moment something gets caught and then you struggle, it just tightens more and more, and you cannot free. So the animal tends to suffocate, or it tends to lose a limb, or it gets stuck around the belly where it cannot get out, and eventually it will either bleed out or it will starve out and die, or it gets poached and taken. So we see your black naped hares in your urban surrounding. We've seen spotted deer, we've seen peacocks. Sometimes we see big animals like tigers and leopards also that get caught in these snares. So things like that. Or sometimes people use these muzzle-loaded illegal guns around your fringes to scare. The idea is to scare away monkeys and scare, like air fire and scare, but sometimes those are modified and they illegally shoot these small pellets that don't immediately kill the animal. They're not big high caliber guns, but those are small ball bearings and things like that can damage the animal. So it can lose its eyesight. It can sit into the skin and then cause festering wounds and get septic and then die. So those are the kind of things that we classify as human intervention, or vehicular accidents also along the highways. Overspeeding. If there's nobody to look, sometimes they'll just pick up the carcass and throw it inside, so that and then we find it after a few days, and then after about a week. So figuring out how it exactly died after a week is difficult. So but then we see the pattern of fractures and possible injuries, and then we determine that it could be a road accident. So these are all human interventions.
One side of it is you're literally the Sherlock for the bodies. But what's the other side? I mean, there is always some amount of discomfort, right? When you're looking at a dead body, especially an animal body which has been there around like for probably a week, or like, how do you prepare to face such calls?
No, I think it is a matter of perspective. So when I got into my bachelor's in veterinary science, so the first year was a class in anatomy. And anatomy cannot be studied on an intact body. I think it's the same sentiment is also there with the human doctors. I feel that So, but you're taken into that room, the mortuary, with the perspective that you're here to study the animal.
So perspective eases it out, as
of course it does. So then you're not looking at it as a dead body. So you're looking at it as a specimen. And as an anatomical specimen. And with veterinary science, I think it's far more interesting because there are so many different species, and the number of ribs in a horse are different from the number of ribs in a dog. So, and we are supposed to know and remember all of that. So the position of the eye sockets, in some animals it's more wider. In some animals it's what we call binocular vision, like how we have, like how primates have, like how some falcons have. So they have binocular vision. But there are some birds and horses, they have eyes on the side.
180.
And some animals have pupils that are horizontal, some have vertical, and so these differences, they take that discomfort off of you.
So it's like a library for you, like wherein you're just exploring, and it's only adding more.
Yes. So I think those teach us a lot, and we also try to be very mindful of the fact that if we come across a dead animal, so we try our best to make the most of it, so that we don't have a larger impact, so we don't have more animals dying from that cause. So that we try to justify that one death as much as possible.
What is one animal that has deeply touched you on the table, like the specimen?
I think there are far more than I can count. It would be really unfair for me to count to one. I think I've had far more. I've had incidents wherein I have not been affected at all. I've had incidents where I've been moved, and not necessarily my pets. So it's hard to come by. I think it's usually when animals are pregnant, and then during the course of your intervention you figure out that the fetus is, for example, still alive, and the animal is no more, especially if it has died of unnatural causes. So that really it pulls at your heartstrings. But there have been countless incidents. It's very difficult for me to find one. And I try my best not to get attached because you need to have a very objective outlook towards your job. So if I cannot say that the tiger is my favorite animal, or the leopard is my favorite animal, or so and so breed of dog is my favorite. Obviously I will have, but I will try as much as possible to stay objective.
So what has challenged you the most?
In what sense?
On the table, what animal specimen challenged you the most? Was a puzzle for you to understand, or probably?
Yeah, we've seen cases wherein we've had multiple reasons why the animal is not well. So there are multiple reasons sometimes. And
What
then
are usually these reasons? Like, apart from the zoonotics, the diseases and all of that?
see, the first challenge is that the animal cannot speak. So we don't know where to begin. And secondly, by the time the animal is brought to you. So I more often than not get presented with birds, for example, like your Brahmini kite and your black-winged kite. So those are presented to you, or even a house cat may sometimes somebody might bring in. And the only complaint is that we either found it in a miserable state, or if it's your own pet, my pet is not eating. It's been sitting dull. So that is the only symptom to begin with. We don't know anything else. So the whole process of examining the animal, and then you figure out that it's not just an infection, the animal is also suffering from something else. So getting around 2 or 3 causes, and then finally figuring out. I think one of my most interesting cases was a black kite that was found by somebody on their balcony. And then they had got it, and we realized that the bird is severely dehydrated. We corrected that, and but for some reason the bird would not fly, and the claws were clenched, and the bird would not fly. So in spite of treating for almost a week, so the bird would just not fly. It had to be force fed, and in spite of everything being normal. So then we figured out that this bird was scavenging off a garbage dump that was by the roadside, by the highway in Mysore. And then it turned out to have a very high level of lead in the body. So lead causes neurological dysfunction. So lead poisoning in a black kite that somebody has found on a balcony. So you can understand how difficult these dots are to connect. So, but sometimes we have these cases that really amaze you, and it's a good learning.
In fact, last time you're supposed to come here for Just Curious, our conversation for our English podcast. That's when a leopard intervention had happened or something like that, because of which you couldn't make it, right?
Yes.
So, right. What was that story? What happened there?
No, those are very routine calls, ma'am. Sometimes what happens, animals get displaced. And I think on that particular day, the animal had taken shelter in a pump house set in a field, and then one of the villagers had seen it and bolted the door from outside. And then so we had to obviously intervene. Now it's in the daytime. There's a huge mob.
So what do you all do? Like once you get a call?
So we rush as soon as possible. Our major point of interest is not the animal at that point. It is controlling the people. Controlling the mob, because in a mob there's a lot of frenzy and there's a lot of panic. So we try to address that first, and then once that is in place, so our next goal is to immediately evacuate the animal from there as safely as possible, as quickly as possible, without harm, making sure that there's no human or animal casualty.
How do you do that? Evacuating the animal first, like
we take help. So we also take help from the police. Our own staff, forest department staff, is quite equipped with handling mobs, people in public.
That's to keep them away, and then you go and tackle.
We try to keep them away from the space of work as much as possible, and it's a very fine balance. So you cannot ask people to just leave.
Yeah.
Because there are so many of them, and they've all come to watch, and it's happened in their own village or in their space, and you can't suddenly come and say, now don't be here. But we also, and suppose the animal is, we lose control of the animal, it can pounce on anybody. And so there's a lot at stake. So that's how we try to control the mob as much as possible. And then we try to find ways wherein we can safely tranquilize the animal and then take it back into the forest, check it. And if it's fit for release, we release it immediately. If it's not, then we discuss the further course of action. So those decisions are taken by the directors of the park or
so once you tranquilize it, what happens? Like, they will be sedated for how many hours?
So generally they are sedated for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. So if we require, we extend the period of sedation by giving top up doses, but usually it doesn't last that long. So we also have antidotes for the anesthesia that we give. So once the animal is safely restrained, so then we revive the animal. It wakes up, and then once the health analysis is done, and it's found to be good and fit for release, and we release it immediately.
What's the toughest animal to sedate? Is it elephant or?
No, I think it's a wild boar.
Why?
I think wild boars are one of the most difficult animals to, because I think first of all their skin is so thick, and they've got a huge fat pad that our dart needles also don't pierce. Elephants actually have very sensitive skin, so they are not. It looks thick.
Huge.
Yeah, it's the dermis is quite thick. The layer of dermis is only the top dermis layer. Epidermis is what is thick. It's more callus like, but otherwise beneath that epidermis, so they are one of the most sensitive tissues in the animal kingdom. But with wild boars, they've got a very thick fat pad that our dart needles sometimes get bent instead of piercing, and they are so resilient that they will just not go down. So we had one, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, we had one wild boar that had to be removed from the Mysore airport. So that wild boar was a huge male, and he was roaming the Mysore airport grounds from the time when Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was the president of the country. So that was when he caused the first problem. So I think he didn't allow one of those aircrafts to land. So that's when they realized that this is a problem maker. And he would, then once Mysore airport I think got established, he would come out in the night on the runway when the lights would come on, and he would go after these small rodents and animals that would come out. And he would disrupt, and he would chew on the electric cables.
Crazy.
And he would cause a lot of disruption. So I think for about 6 years, we were not able to catch that one wild boar. But eventually we succeeded. It was very difficult. So he was still semi-conscious when we put a net and we lifted him. And then we released him into the forest safely. So we don't know how he's doing, but quite a lot of spirit he had.
Now talking about the jungle secrets and so much. Firstly, can animals sense human intentions?
Some can.
Like?
Some can.
For example?
Your domestic animals are very in tune with human body language. So I think they are probably number one. Horses, very, very sensitive. They can pick up. They say that if you sit on a horse and if you're scared of riding the horse feels it. And if you're confident, the horse is also confident. And the same goes for elephants.
Yeah?
They're extremely sensitive. And they judge.
Elephants judge?
Yes, they judge, they assess, they understand.
So how do they judge? Because
I think it's mostly to do with your body language. I think the way you present yourself, I think it's picked up easily by some species. Your dogs can pick up. Dogs can sniff out cancers. I mean, so that's how in tune they are. And I think the ones, especially domestic animals that you tend to have around you most of the time are, and if they have the cognitive capacity to put things together, I think then they can.
You spoke about elephants, right? Elephants judge and all of that. Probably this is coming in from a place where today elephants are in temples. Like you see, it is basically blessing the bhaktas. So how should humans understand elephants in the temple premises especially? How should they behave there? Because we've seen accidents, we've seen cute videos, we've seen elephants dancing, but what's the real truth?
I think it's a very deeply ingrained relationship. So temple elephants are not new. So we've had them for God knows how many centuries. And especially in India, so I think ever since there has been civilization, we have had some kind of a connect with elephants. And once we realized that this species can be tamed, so then they have been used in temples, they have been used in wars, they have been used as trophies, they have been used for a lot of reasons. And there are incidents of the animals going out of control in some states depending, but there's always a trigger.
What's a trigger?
So it can usually be commotion, chaos, confusion. So if the animal is mentally at peace, so even for example like a temple elephant that is used to seeing people every day, it's not like it is lashing out at people every day. So it is usually that one incident that has caused that has triggered the animal to behave in a certain manner, and it can be anything. It can be a firecracker, it can be a loud noise, it can be a flashlight of a camera. We don't know what will trigger the animal. So, and these are animals that are capable of going berserk. So there is an inherent risk. It's like owning a pit bull or a Rottweiler. So they're very good dogs, but there is a temperament. So these are temperamental animals. So we as humans, knowing, and we have kept the animal ourselves. So we are the ones that have kept the animal, whether it's in a temple or in a camp or it can be anywhere. But we have decided to keep it. So we should also have the better sense to know about the animal and, if possible, understand the possible triggers of that particular animal. Or if it's really difficult, maintain a safe distance. And I think then that age-old relationship will just continue the way it is.
Do they all have a routine before, let's say in Mysore there is this Jambu Savari that happens, and here in temples, the blessing and all of that. Do elephants go through a ritual like, to keep them calm or whatever? Do they all have a protocol to keep them in good mental health?
I think that is just largely left to the Mahout and the Kawadi that are in charge of the elephant, because they know their individual animal well. You cannot have a textbook protocol for all the animals, captive animals that are used for these purposes. So it is generally left to the caretaker. So he knows what the animal likes. So there are many different people do it in different manners. So there are some people that prefer to feed the elephant sugarcane and jaggery before giving, like a positive reinforcement thing. And there are people that prefer to give the elephant a bath. They feel that calms the animal down. So different people adopt different ways. I think it is left to the caretaker of that elephant. So there is no set ritual or anything. So if they know that the elephant has got a big day ahead of him, so then they try to appease the elephant as much as possible. There are some people that don't feed the elephant for a couple of hours, and then they start feeding during the ritual, so that the elephant is more engaged, towards. So there are different methods that they adopt.
I've seen many elephants which has chalk designs on the trunk and all of that. Is it safe to do that?
Yeah, those are the paints and the chalk that they use are usually organic, and they wash off very easily. So it's just calcium carbonate. So it's not a synthetic dye or material that they use that will cause a rash or an allergy or something like that. And I think that is a way to make the animal look more glamorous. It has been done from the times of the kings. So even for wars, they used to dress those animals up. They used to dress them up they would look grander than they are.
Does the animal like it?
I don't think any animal likes to be
ornamented,
meddled with. Once you've decided to keep that animal for a certain reason, then what you do with it, I think, is quite secondary. Yeah, but there are some cases, like for example, there are animals that are born in captivity, or they are rescued, or they are orphaned. And those animals anyway don't have much of an option or a choice, because they've never seen. So they have been hand reared, or like a 15-day-old calf would have been brought up, which otherwise would have died. And then they are used to being, they've understood that this is the lifestyle.
Do loud colors or perfume kind of irritate animals? Like we've seen for the bull, it's red color, cloth being showed.
I think with bulls, that's a misconception that they respond to the color red. I think they are dichromatic. They see in black and white, so they don't see the color red. I mean, even if you're talking about the bullfighting rings in Spain, I think those got banned because there was also a lot of injuring the animal during the process. So the matador, every time he would sweep the flag, and they would also pierce a sharp object into the bull to get it more angry. And then before the whole thing, the animal would be confined in a small pen, raging to go. So the animal is already angry when it is left out into that open arena, and then he's just responding to the slightest movement. So that's that. But otherwise, in general, it is always advised not to wear anything strong. It might be a strong color, it can be a strong perfume, or the smell of cigarette smoke. So because they're so sensitive, they pick up on these scents and smells so much more than we do. So it is generally advised not to be around animals.
There are no color restrictions, like particular color. There's no restriction.
Anything
but
bright.
It's just bright.
Anything bright is considered offensive to the eyes.
Now, getting into the world of tigers, how do humans look at tigers, and how are the tigers looking at humans actually?
Generally, tigers, I think, would like to avoid humans as much as possible, or anything that is not natural to them, they would like to avoid. Obviously, some tigers in the safari area are more used to the vehicles and the people in them, but they look at the entire convoy as one unit. So they don't differentiate mentally between the vehicle and people separately. So when you see a bipedal human being walking into the forest, so they are also as shocked, and they try to avoid. They also don't like an interaction. So they're very elusive, very shy beings. Humans obviously look at them as they are the most charismatic, one of the most charismatic species on the planet. And I think everybody is in awe of the way a tiger looks, and the walk of that panther walk it's quite mesmerizing. So inspired, and knowing that it is so dangerous, but you are still, when you come into close contact, or when you happen to see an animal, whether in a zoo or in the forest, just knowing that this animal is so dangerous but yet so graceful, and that brings about a lot of emotions, I think. So you would like to look at it a little longer.
So, when do I know a tiger is angry? When do I know it's friendly?
There is no concept of angry and friendly. I think it's just how they feel. I mean, if they feel threatened, they will be defensive, and they will.
When they're defensive, they attack.
Or
Or either run away.
Yeah, just fight or flight. So if they're cornered, any animal for that matter can attack. Or I think the first option would always be to flee. So they would not want an altercation. So we've had elephants also, huge elephants that have chosen to run away than come and charge. So and that really nobody can tell. It's all in the moment. So no tiger's happy to see a human being. I'll tell you that. I don't think so. I think they're more happy that they would associate you with the concept of being fed, like in a zoo, for example. They're very happy to see the zookeeper. It's not that, I don't think it's because they have that, maybe the cubs that they've brought up from birth might have a little bit of an affection. But otherwise, the general feeding pattern, I think, is what they are more in tune with.
Now we have myths about tigers being manhunters. So, is it true? Like they go and hunt for humans, or?
No, I think that myth gets developed after an incident. So the concept of man killers is not new to India. So we've had it from, I think, it was first documented before the Mughal era, I think, when the first documentation started. I think from then also we've had reports of writings of man killers and things like that, certain roads to avoid because man killers would roam there and things. But also we had such a huge population of tigers at that point. And now, today's day and age, I think we have these very isolated incidents wherein, because humans are living in such close proximity and they're grazing practically prey. So they're grazing cattle close to the fringe. And an animal that is maimed, is injured, and has fought with another tiger and is now pushed to the buffer, and is living on that one patch without its natural prey, and it's physically not capable of hunting. When it chances upon cattle, so it realizes that it's easy to take cattle down. And then unfortunately what happens is that they invariably come into contact with humans, because the humans are either stopping the tiger from killing the cattle, or the tiger confuses them to be prey itself. So they get picked up, and then that's how that cycle starts. And then they start picking up humans because it's far more easier than picking up cattle, and they're more frequent, they're more in abundance. And then there's a whole myth that the tiger has tasted human blood and now it doesn't like anything else. And so, but it's far more complex than just, I don't think the tiger doesn't have the luxury to taste a particular cuisine. So it's not like once it eats humans, it loves the taste of humans and loves drinking the human's blood. And there's so many stories around it. But those are built because that animal invokes that kind of fear and respect in your heart. So there are so many stories around. But this is, I think, the more common truth. They're just trying to fight for survival. And those animals eventually tend to either get killed by the locals, or they get, if we are called in quick enough and we are able to get them, we get them.
Do tigers remember human faces?
I'm not quite sure about that. I don't know if they have the capacity to remember, but I think they can differentiate to a certain extent. And I think they also look at you as a larger object, your whole stature, and this is usually with people with animals that are in captivity. So with who they have a regular interaction with, and also I think a certain amount of scent that they are used to, and they associate that scent with a good interaction or a bad interaction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How?
It's very simple. Like in a zoo, the zookeeper would be feeding that animal, so he knows I'm sure the animal is able to relate the scent of this particular human being with the scent of food that he is bringing.
Because the food and the human scent is getting mixed.
It's a very positive reinforcement. No? So if somebody is coming and giving you something you like. So I think but I don't think he would remember this particular gentleman after 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, unless I think they have been brought up. But it's quite debatable. So they say that there are some animals that remember you for lifetime. So, but we've also seen 1 or 2 years after being separated, they've just not bothered.
So tigers don't remember faces. Okay, so now what's the life of a tiger? Like, the span, at what age the behavior changes. Yeah.
I think those tiger behavior has been studied quite extensively. So I think it's quite, although sometimes there are outliers, but they generally tend to stay with the mother for about 2 to 3 years, wherein they learn how to survive, how to hunt, how to kill, and they travel with the mother, so they get familiarized with the territory. And then after 3 years, the mother discourages their presence and she pushes them out because she needs to have the next generation. And then they are moved out of that territory, and then it's up to them to survive on their own and figure out they have to make their own territory now. So that is usually when they come into contact with other tigers and they have these episodes of infighting, and they either chase the older one or the younger one out, or they themselves get driven out.
Can you kind of help us understand how a territory is formed by a tiger?
A tiger travels continuously, and so the territory is decided by, first of all, the geographical area of that reserve, so how big that patch of forest is. So if it's a big patch, obviously the tigers have bigger liberties, so they are able to hold on to maybe a 50 or 100 square kilometers also. But if it's a smaller patch, if the population is more dense, then obviously they are restricted to maybe one water body, or they look for a place where there is enough shelter, there's enough water, and there's enough prey. But that also attracts other animals, other tigers also. So there's a constant fight off. So they scent mark.
How?
And they have these scent glands below the tail wherein they spray and then they mark their presence. And that is to remind other animals that sometimes they roar and they walk. And they call out. The female will call out saying, she's establishing her presence as a female. The male will just call out sometimes to show that he's just there, if it's a dominant male. So he's not scared of calling out. And then once the territory is established, then they stay there for as long as they're not driven out by another individual. And then in the wild, they tend to last for about 12, 13 years, roughly, on an average. And by then, they get quite old and they've lost the capacity to survive any longer. But in captivity, they live up to 22, 25 years.
Oh. What's the weight of a tiger?
Siberian tigers are close to, I think, 300 kilograms. And I think the Royal Bengal tigers here in India, I think the female is about 110, 115. The males can go up to 150, 180.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bengal tigers are fit tigers.
But the Siberian tigers are also quite fit, but I think it's just that
frame itself is large.
Yeah, they are generally very big in comparison, because I think the terrain that they live in those subantarctic terrains. So
you spoke about the water bodies, right? Usually jungles won't have huge lakes or even ponds, like each one can't have their own separate one. So how do they share these common areas?
Water holes are always shared, especially in summer. It doesn't have to be a big pond or a small pond. Even the smallest pond is sometimes a shared water hole. Especially in summers, you will see that every animal flocks to that what is remaining in that particular water hole and is not evaporated. So then those are shared between species. And that's where most of the action happens also, because they all come together in the evenings or in the morning before they disperse.
So how do tigers identify? Do they also have relations like humans have? Mother, father, kids? Or is it all about survival of the fittest?
It is entirely survival, but they also have they recognize the siblings are recognized, the parents are recognized. It's not necessary that they have to
Be a
command any
family and-
respect, or
Uh-huh.
it's not that the daughter will not fight with the mother and so on and so forth. So if it comes to survival, they will. If the daughter is intervening in the mother's territory, the mother will shoot the daughter out, or the daughter can push the older mother out. And it is entirely survival based. It has nothing to do with. It's not as complex and deep seated as the human family system is. With primates, maybe you can expect to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
just because the cognition is higher. But with felids, it's survival based. So the mother will guard the cubs with her life until they're 2 years, 3 years old. So once they're independent, she will push them out equally.
What happens when a tiger comes in front of you accidentally, and how should humans respond to it?
I don't think there should be a situation wherein you would accidentally come across a tiger. But sometimes with the work that we do, more than us, I think the foresters or the beat guards that go into the forest, they sometimes encounter. And it's just best to stay quiet and give the animal that space. And if you're not posing a threat, eventually it will just go away. I don't think they've ever had the intention to cause conflict. So you're talking about the tigers that you encounter in the jungle,
Right.
Yeah, no, they more often than not, they will give them the space. They will just walk away. Yeah, but there's nothing that you can do to just hope that you're not panicking and your guts are about you, and then you don't do anything silly and scream and scare and put your hands up and shoo and all that. All that will not work, because you don't know. Now you're trying to provoke the animal.
Oh, by doing all of that?
You don't know how the animal will perceive. It might just perceive you as a threat. So many times they say is just to be quiet and give it that space. Eventually it will move away.
You shouldn't run. You shouldn't make any movements, basically.
You have to gauge the situation, and the people that are in that situation are usually highly trained. So a common man getting into a situation like that, I think that's a lost cause. I don't have much hope for that outcome. But the people that are generally in this situation are quite trained. They're well trained staff. So they've had many experiences like that, and they know exactly what to do. And they sometimes know before. So for them, surprise encounters are quite rare. So by listening to the flapping of an elephant's ears 200 meters away, they will already climb up a tree here, and then they'll start gauging the surrounding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so these are very in tune people. So for them, I think the surprise encounters are quite rare, and even if they do, I think they know how to get out of it.
So there is no like a listicle or tips that we can give it out to our laymen.
There is no concept of layman venturing into the jungle at all. So you should not encounter because if you are in a situation where you have encountered as a common man, if you have encountered a tiger in the forest, you have already broken 3 forest laws. You have trespassed, you have littered, and you have already committed an offense. So even if you come out safe, the law will get you. So you should ideally you should not be in that situation at all. So there are no tips to these. There's no need for tips.
But these days you've seen these viral videos, right? Like people have jumped into a closed, a cage wherein the tiger was in captivity or something like that. You must have seen.
Yeah, that happens quite often. I think there was one very famous incident in Delhi Zoo where a man jumped into. But these people are usually found to be senile, so they're not fully aware of the surroundings, and they act on impulse. They're either drunk, and they're incoordinated. They're not fully in control of their senses, or they're not mentally sound. And
So
I think there have been a few incidents where the people were now found not to be mentally sound, and they had a history of that problem. And that's why I think those are the kind of people that tend to do it.
How do animals respond to a situation like that? in
There have
captivity.
been cases where I think in one of the zoos there was a drunk man that got onto a tree and jumped into a lion enclosure and was unharmed. So the animal didn't respond at all. So it just lay about. Whereas this gentleman who passed away in Delhi Zoo was picked up by the tiger and he was dragged a certain distance. And so there is really no way of saying. So with captive animals, we generally, it's impossible to predict. Like I told you, there are so many triggers that every individual animal has. It has nothing to do with that animal being a leopard or a lion or a
Got
tiger
it.
or an elephant.
It's a very subjective
It's
case.
a very, very, very subjective matter. There are some animals that are very calm. I'm talking about like big elephants and leopards that are very calm. So even at 7 years of age, they will come and they will nuzzle their face to the cage. But there are some cubs or juveniles also that are equally aggressive and they have mood swings also. So we don't know.
Like they say, for humans, teenage is like the most toughest. Your hormones are all over the place. So likewise for an animal, does the same thing apply?
Not in the human context. See, when you keep comparing humans and animals, you are effectively anthropomorphizing the situation. So you are enforcing human emotions and human values on an animal kingdom wherein it may not have any virtue at all. So they feel very differently from how we feel. And
How do they feel? Like?
we don't know that.
Ah.
We honestly don't know that. See, we perceive a few emotions.
Or a behavior,
These are-
incident-based behavior.
Yeah, so we are
becomes a
used to few emotions. So we are also very used to very few emotions. So we know love, we know jealousy, we know hatred, we know anger, we know happiness, we know sadness. And beyond this, we also don't know how else to feel. So you are only feeling these few emotions at any given point of
because
time.
you're told or you're conditioned to.
Yeah, because that's how much we are required to feel as a species. So as a human being that is built to last 70 years, these emotions are enough for you to survive. So we have not evolved beyond that. You know, the only common emotion that I can say among mammals is probably motherhood. So that you will see across species. So every mother, whether it's a bird that is trying to incubate the eggs, or it can be a big elephant, or it can be a whale in the ocean. But motherhood is common. That also for them is to propagate that species. So they hold on to that period of pregnancy and the offspring, and they take care till it becomes independent, is so that the species is propagated forward. So it's not like the elephant has to admit the child to school, or they don't expect the younger one to take care of the parent. So that is a very human concept. I'm just giving you as an example.
Right.
So they are very survival driven. So our emotions are far more complex.
I think even we were born to survive.
Yeah, but we've made it more complex.
With evolution in the name of what
Yeah.
next, I think a lot has been institutionalized, capitalistic and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah. So it has become more complex because we are a very complex species by nature, by default.
Because we can think, right?
We are, yeah, and we know the outcome of our actions, and it is not just to do with our survival. So there are so many things that we do that we don't require to survive, but we do it anyway.
So have you seen moments where wild animals have shown, unexpected emotions like grief or like bonding you just spoke about?
We have
motherhood.
seen elephants mourn the death of the newborn.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we've
How do
seen
they
them
do
mourn. They spend their own moment they touch the carcass repeatedly and they spend their moments. We've seen monkeys on the road wherein the baby has died commonly of electrocution, and the mother's holding on to the baby, and we can physically see the distress in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that bond is so high, it's so strong. So we've seen a lot of distress.
So how do they get over it? Only with time, you just don't know.
I think they eventually recover, and it's until they have the next baby.
Mm-hmm. Now talking about human and wildlife conflict, why is it we often get to hear elephants and leopards or even tigers entering into the human area? I mean, are we looking at it in the right lens?
It is a problem that has always been there. It is a problem that is always going to be there.
Why?
Because we are a country that is so diverse. So we have got so many ecosystems within ecosystems, and we have a lot of common interests. Like if you take agriculture for example, so agriculture is required for our survival. It is a mode of business, and invariably that happens to also be on the fringes of any forest, and the common produce is grown, which is enjoyed by humans and elephants alike. Sometimes we have these sugarcane fields, which are good shelter for tigers and leopards to give birth in, because it is so dense, it is not disturbed. But eventually that sugarcane has to be harvested, and that's when people come into contact with these animals, and then there's retaliation. So this is just the larger picture. So it's not just these animals. So we've got peacocks that that deplete the entire crop, wheat crops and paddy crops.
Yeah?
Yeah, they come in flocks, they eat away all the crop and they go. So that also is a mode of conflict. And so because we share so much common space, we have tried to become so self-reliant. So we don't want to be dependent on seasons. So if there's no rain, we will have a bore well, and we'll have a sprinkler system. And we will not grow seasonal crops. We will grow crops that fetch high price in the market. And sometimes we've got these mixed farming systems, wherein people will grow fruiting trees very close to the periphery of the forest, which will invariably attract elephants. And but on the other hand, we cannot say don't do it, because agriculture is the life support system of this country. It's the backbone. And I think 70 to 80% of the country is dependent on agriculture. And we cannot suddenly ask people to stop farming. That is their livelihood.
Right.
So I wouldn't call it, it's not a win-lose situation, it's a lose-lose situation. So they're both losing, and we cannot at the same time deplete the wildlife that we have. So we have to conserve that as well. But the good thing is that the people that are facing conflict on a daily basis or on a regular basis, they have been facing it for such a long time that they're also in tune. So they also
the villagers?
Yeah, the villagers. They tend to be more tolerant. So they do take up some losses as expected losses. So they don't lash out immediately, or they have not lost patience in this country still. So that's the only reason I think why we have enough time to act and take precautions, because people are generally more tolerant.
So like saving wildlife isn't charity, it's basically survival for them. Now, once you safely capture, how do you relocate a wild animal like a tiger or an elephant?
So the final call is taken by the Chief Wildlife Warden of the state. So they decide what animal goes where.
Yeah?
Yeah. If it is a habitual offender, then it is usually taken into captivity, because we cannot risk releasing such an animal in the wild again.
Who are the habitual offenders of Karnataka usually?
Oh, we don't know. There are so many. It's very difficult. It wouldn't be right on my part also to say that, because I will be labeling species
And
as
making that animal the
offenders.
villain.
Yeah, but generally animals that tend to stray from their natural behavior and come into contact with humans more often than necessary, especially if it is the same animal. So you would have tried to, like I said, you would have done everything. You would have created a physical barrier, but it will find a way around it. And you will displace the animal from there, you will translocate to some other place, but it will still come back to the same area. And
some amount of tigers, some amount of...
It can be any animal.
Panthers,
so it can be any animal.
I think we only get to hear these more in the media, is it?
No, these are the more glamorous species. So we've got langurs around Shimoga also that cause regular problems. We've got rhesus macaques or bonnet macaques.
But that doesn't get glorified.
It's not it's not looked as a more it doesn't carry more shock value, that's all. But wildlife is always under conflict in some way or the another.
So once the person takes the call, what happens? Like, where do you all relocate? So how's the divide of the jungle made? Like, where tigers should stay? You all will have the analytics, right? The data, like which part.
Yeah, we know. We have information on where there is abundant prey, where there is a vacuum of that species, and what is, for example, if you talking about an elephant. So we try to release it in an area where the herd dynamic will not get disturbed.
Like, what's a herd dynamic?
So elephants live in herds. So they've got a herd of female elephants in one particular area. You would know that there are so many male elephants, and we try to release it in a space where the animal has enough space to either accommodate or find its own ground, like the backwaters, for example. So like Bhadra backwaters or Kabini backwaters, and we know that there's plenty of forage there. There's plenty of space for one extra elephant there. And with tigers, it's more intensive. So we have the data of every tiger in the state, and based on that, the chief wildlife warden will take a call, and tiger or leopard, and they will finally take the ultimate decision as to what is to be done.
So how can I think there are a few campaigns wherein you all call out for volunteers who can be part of it, right?
They used to before. I think it was up until 2012. I think volunteers were allowed to go into to join the forest department in the census.
Count, okay.
But I think now that has come down largely because of the presence of social media, and then it's difficult to moderate
Why?
the content that goes out, and also personal safety. So guaranteeing
these guys
safety
can
of
go-
volunteers now is difficult. In those days, I don't know how they managed, but now, and also it is now, people are discouraged from entering the forest because you can bring in so much with you. You can bring in diseases, you can bring in, litter, and we like to leave those areas untouched.
So like between the humans, we all know like common things like headache, indigestion, or jaundice and all of that. So what are the problems the animals go through, like the zoonotics?
Zoonotic diseases, yeah, we see them sometimes. They're quite rare, but common ailments every animal suffers. So we have seen animals having vomiting, diarrhea, and stomach ache, elephants especially. So there's this concept called zoo pharmacopoeia.
What is that?
So it is medicine adopted by the animals themselves. So an elephant knows if it is having diarrhea or if it has got a worm load. So it knows that it needs to go and eat black soil near a riverbed, or it'll eat the bark of a cinnamon tree, or it'll eat neem leaves.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So if an elephant, if an animal has got a maggot wound or a pus wound, it'll go and submerge itself in the water where the fish can come and feed off the maggots and the dead tissue. So zoo pharmacopoeia is what we call it, and that usually tends to, it runs quite commonly in
It's
the.
like a symbiosis.
Yeah, it runs in the animal kingdom, and then they take care of it. They take
Like I
care
have
of it
4
themselves.
dogs, right? In my garden, the dogs, when they enter, they first go in search of those grass. They
Yeah.
eat, and then I don't know, they have their own ways of.
Yeah, it's a way of including fiber in the diet. Sometimes even cats eat grass to include, because there's no fiber in the diet. So that's a good way of introducing some cellulose and some fiber. Aids in digestion. So you see that with babies also, they eat mud. And that's when the doctors know that the baby is having a mineral deficiency. So it's the same concept in the wild.
Same thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we all naturally, the body
Yeah,
knows
yeah.
what it wants. It's just that-
Usually. I think we are a lot more corrupted that way, but
Like in your journey, of course, you received the Gaj Gaurav Award, and even the ministry appreciated you, and including our PM Modi ji appreciated you. So, yeah, how did it all happen? It was for you saving an elephant which was electrocuted or something, right?
yeah, there was a whole team.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just me, it was a whole team. So we found an elephant, a female elephant that was electrocuted and laying on the side in a field. So we were actually called in for a post-mortem. So only when we went in, we realized that the animal was still alive. It was just barely able to blink. And so once the diagnosis of possible electrocution was made, so then we did rigorous treatment. And
Like?
after to counter the shock, it's usually the body goes into shock once you're electrocuted. Your circulatory system and your neurological system collapses, and ideally you would die, but luckily this elephant still had a bit of life left, and it had turned cold, so it would have eventually passed. So once we started treating, and then about 6-8 hours of aggressive treatment, later we realized that the elephant was now able to move its limbs and it was slowly responding. So that gave us some more hope. And eventually, once the treatment got over, so we got a JCB to help it rise. And once it got up, eventually I think it managed to walk into the forest. And that was, I think, probably the first time that such a case was documented, and that elephant is still alive till today. They're still tracking it. So we've not stopped tracking that animal. So it is still very much there. And it was a whole team. The entire Bandipur Tiger Reserve team with the forest department. Phenomenal work. 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours of being in the field in the sun. It takes quite a lot of spirit to do.
Must have been very rewarding, right? Like these are the kind of things that money can't buy, like the satisfaction of,
Yeah, of course. You do feel that your work is recognized and what you're working towards is yielding positive results. So, these are all very rewarding moments. So there was one more in BRT. So we had Mrs. Deep Contractor as the Division Forest Officer for BRT Tiger Reserve. And so we were called in to treat an abandoned elephant calf. I think this was a year and a half ago. So a 15-20 day old calf was lying on the side and not responding. And the mother was nearby, but for some reason she wouldn't come close to the calf, and the calf was not able to rise up and go with the mother. It was just lying recumbent. And we were called in to treat the calf because it was alive. So I went in, so we had a full team, we treated, and we realized that the calf had a lot of ticks on its body. So ticks have venom that can sometimes paralyze you. So a lot of ticks can paralyze a small animal.
And I've been told ticks are different from animal to animal. For example, a
Yes.
tick on the snake
Yeah.
is a poisonous tick.
No, it's nothing like that. All ticks carry a certain amount of
Yeah?
disease and toxin. So, but dog ticks are different, cat ticks are different, elephant ticks are different, rhino ticks are different.
Right.
So they all adapt to that host.
So, but started with one and then eventually evolved and become different types of.
Yeah, I think eventually there was one common ancestor then that divided into so many species, and then they adapted to that host that they were dependent on.
Got
So
it.
in this case, that the female, the infant elephant calf had tick paralysis and a lot of worms in the body. So after treating it for a full day, then we were able to get the calf to rise up. So initially we thought, because the calf is still at a lactating stage, we thought we will shift it to a nearby rescue center and then figure how it goes. But then our forest officer had the good thought to say that we will try and reunite it with the mother. So once we got the elephant calf up, we put out drones to find the mother, and we physically drove the calf slowly. It was just getting some energy to walk, and then we got this beautiful drone shot of the mother eventually coming and taking the calf with her into the forest.
Oh.
So there's no award and all that for this, but when you see things like this, it reinforces your faith in whatever you're doing.
What kind of has made you helpless as well?
Sometimes when your hard work doesn't yield result,
Like, for instance?
for example, like this electrocution case. So we've had so many instances where we have found animals recumbent and sometimes not even as serious as that. And we try to treat them for 2 days, 3 days, and they don't respond. And then every time you go with the hope that something will happen, but more often than not it doesn't. It's very rare that, because like I said, valuable time is lost in trying to identify what has happened. And by the time you get the animal is presented to you, it's already quite late. So when things don't go your way, you tend to feel a little disappointed.
How do you continue with your purpose and the grit, and how do you stay objective irrespective of the outcome?
It's only it's all in the moment. So at that moment we feel disappointed or we feel excited when something good happens, but the next day is a different day. So we don't carry it forward, we don't carry it with us. So we don't dwell on the positive or the negative, because there's always a new one to look forward to. I cannot sit and crib that the animal passed away in my hands, or I cannot take a day off because one animal is saved. We have no choice. We have to move on.
How do you handle high profile cases visiting the jungle? I think even Modi ji had come.
Yeah, but I don't have much of a role to play
in these cases.
Protocols. So it's usually the higher officers that are there. So it's a very bureaucratic process. So they are the ones who take care of their security and their visits, and So we don't have. So the only time that I was involved with the Prime Minister's visit was when, I think according to protocol, you're supposed to have, because he was entering a forest area. So one veterinarian with a tranquilizing gun is usually supposed to be posted.
When the
It's
person
part of the
is
security detail.
protocol, okay.
I think so. It's a very minor role, and it was restricted to that. So these are not my. It's not part of my line of work.
You were there with him for that particular visit.
Yeah, along with the rest of the security detail, including our directors and our officers. So we were also supposed to be there. So we were there.
What did you ask him?
No, we had a very small interaction. So obviously we are not. The Prime Minister's security is extremely high profile. So you cannot just go up to him and
Oh, yeah?
speak with him. Yeah. So in fact, on the other hand, he was generous enough to
Come and talk to you.
talk to
All of us.
our contingent, and he asked who we are and where we are from and how long we've been working for, and so it was he was more than generous. So we were quite obviously very scared to break protocol, because we were given these very strict rules of do's and don'ts.
So did he did pass a remark on you when you got the Gaj Gaurav award, right?
Yeah, after that incident got picked up by the Honorable Minister of Forest, Shri Bhupendra Singh Yadav. So he tweeted about it first. It wasn't congratulating just me, it was congratulating the whole Tiger Reserve and the State Department. So once they put the tweet out, and that got reshared by the Prime Minister, and then he further congratulated the entire Tiger Reserve and the Karnataka State Forest Department.
Did he remember all of that when he met you?
No, the meeting was very brief. So I don't think there was enough time for us to have a communication.
Introduce us to your team, like the whole team that you all are deeply associated with day in and day out.
It's the entire Tiger Reserve is my team.
Right.
So there are 13 ranges in Bandipur Tiger Reserve. So I work very closely with my director, Sri Prabhakaran is his name, and so he is the one who takes all the important calls in the department. And then whichever range, so there are 13 ranges that Bandipur is divided into. Whichever range we have an issue with or we're supposed to go, so that entire range becomes your team for that scenario. So
how are these ranges divided?
Based on geographical distance.
Only the distance, not on the availability of the animal.
Not really. So these are just conveniently divided for ease of administration.
So when we all come to visit Bandipur, usually we are in which range?
So you are in Bandipur range. So you are in so your safari area is in Bandipur range and a little bit in Gopalswamy Betta range. So these are the two adjoining ranges where the safari track runs, and so you are in crisscrossing between the two ranges as you travel.
Now I have some of the listicle questions. So yes, 3 most misunderstood animals in Bandipur.
No, it's not. They're not misunderstood just in Bandipur. I think
in general.
In general, you could say that
Wild.
there are some animals like you in the earlier. Our first interaction in this podcast, you spoke about crows being a bad omen, and a few things are associated with owls. Your slender loris is used for black magic, and there are some superstitions associated. But around Bandipur, I don't think there's.
Okay, taking Bandipur away, generally 3 most misunderstood animals in the wild.
It's usually the nocturnal animals. You've got owls. You've got slender loris that are looked upon as a bad omen. You've got hyenas that are looked down upon.
Why? Any reason? So that we can
Because
help
they're
people understand.
No, it's just because they're so mysterious. You are scared or you fear what you don't understand. So these animals are not understood enough. You don't see them. Hyenas, for example, very few people have seen.
And also the sound that it makes.
Yeah, so it's very eerie. And you tend to build a myth around it. And that can go for any animal. So they say that, like you said, with man-eaters, bloodthirsty, and not necessarily the case. And there are so many species like that. Monitor lizards are also used for witchcraft. And
These are all total myths,
They're all entirely myths. So they have nothing to do with superstition or black magic or anything to do with supernatural occurrences in the human that would affect a human life. It was like gaur or chital or sambar. So when we have a predator around, and especially if they have a young one, is when they give out distress calls to alert that there's a predator around. Sometimes the young one can get separated, or the individual can get separated from the herd.
But the calls, monkeys are the most famous ones, right? For the calls in the jungle when the tiger is coming and all of that.
Yeah, they are they're called the sentries of the jungle. So they sit atop trees and then they call out the moment they see a predator. So they will give out these alarm calls, followed by peacocks and then followed by deer.
Firstly, why do tigers roar? Because I've been told they don't roar while they're killing.
No,
They're very
they're
silent.
ambush predators. So they don't
Ambush
make.
as in they come silently.
Yeah, they stalk and then they prey. So they will not step on a twig also. So they're so careful with every step that they take. So they definitely don't roar while they're hunting, but they generally roar. A female will roar to call out to the cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or she will roar to announce that she's in estrus and that she's ready to mate to the other males.
Mm-hmm.
Males will roar to establish dominance or to ward off another individual. They will roar loudly and they'll try to push it back. And I think that's about it.
3 wildlife moments you'll never forget. The top 3.
I think the first time that I was quite amazed was when my mother showed me 2 rat snakes mating in a dry gutter. I think that was the first time I had come face to face with with a wildlife.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Where was this?
This was in Mysore only. It was very close to my house.
Mm-hmm.
And then she suddenly stopped to show me that. The two, and it was I was a kid. I think I was in my high school, and it was so new to me to see 2 snakes wrapped around each other, and they were just not bothered by the vehicles passing by, and they were busy in their own space. I think the next one was very recently when I went. So I usually go birding with my group of friends. We try to go around Mysore.
Mm-hmm.
On the outskirts of Mysore we go. So I have a very good friend called Vikas. So he takes me. So we go together on the outskirts of the city, and we try to photograph birds and things like that. So the first time he showed me in a village on a field, he showed me the young one of a red wattle lapwing, and in spite of him pointing it to me, I could not see it. So it was so well camouflaged, and also we didn't want to go too close and disturb. But it was still out there in the open. It was so well camouflaged that in spite of him showing it to me, I could not see it. It took me, I think, close to half an hour, 40 minutes of him trying to zoom into his camera and show me, and I'm yet not able to figure out.
How far were you?
Maybe about 10, 15 feet.
And
but it was in the open grassland and I could not see it.
wow.
But when I eventually saw it is when I was amazed at how well they blend in. And
After 40-45 minutes.
yeah. And him struggling to show it to me. Yeah, I think easily this moment of, like I explained, when the calf was united with the mother.
The one which you saw
Yeah,
from
in
the drone.
BRT. So I think that was something that we had not at all expected. And it was straight out of, a fairy tale. The mother holding the calf's trunk, that because you have to understand that we spent the full day with that calf that was not moving. It was paralyzed. And then to finally see it walk with the mother is, I think, the ultimate goal of conservation. And I don't think many people are blessed to experience that. So I definitely consider myself extremely blessed. And hats off to that, to the director.
Things that we don't know about Dandeli that you would like to throw some more light on, what to explore from Dandeli.
You have to go and speak with the locals. So they are the best people to guide you. So in Mysore, I'm telling you, in Mysore there are so many locations that I am still exploring, and I was born here. So thanks to my friends, who I've recently started doing photography with, and just spending time out on a Sunday morning. So they take me to places that I've never ever been, or
You
I
all
never
have
knew.
groups?
No,
Like
I just have
socials?
no. I try to stay away from hanging out with too many people. So I've got 1 or 2 people that I know that will respect the craft as much as I do, and that's all. Those are the only ones I hang out with. Those are the only ones that can bear me also. So, but like I said, unless you don't speak to the locals, you can just go as a, like a
Tourist.
Google tourist and come back.
Mhm.
If you speak to the locals, they will tell you what to do, where, and there's I think for example in Hassan, so there's a church that is submerged for most parts of the year.
Shetty.
And how many people would know about that?
Mhm.
Now after people have taken up pictures and put online is when people knew that something like that exists.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, top 5 birds of Bandipur one must spot.
The Malkoha is rare. Vultures, if you're lucky, you may spot vultures. And the yellow-footed pigeon is quite beautiful to look at.
Yellow-footed.
Yeah, quite beautiful to look at. And then apart from that, you've got these small flycatchers, the paradise flycatcher, and you've got the Tickles blue. Those are fairly common ones.
Are there time zones to spot them easier?
Some are seasonal, some are not. Some are present throughout the year.
But during the day?
Yeah, during the day.
During the
You'll
day,
see
is it a sign that mornings it's easier to spot these?
Yeah, obviously, just when the sun is coming up is when they are the most active, and then in the evening again.
while they're going back.
Yeah,
home.
some birds are seasonal. Vultures you don't see throughout the year, so you will see them only just around summer is when you'll see them.
Like, where do they go? Matlab, do you all track them? Or
In Bandipur, I think this year they had a vulture census also, so they physically counted the number of vultures.
how many vultures are there?
I'm not sure, that data is not out yet, and that just the count just took place this year, so it will eventually be notified.
So how do you all track it?
So I don't do it. So it is a team of forest staff that physically goes about. They have a survey grid. They go, and if they find the animal, they count the number of animals, and then they document.
There are no
And they try to
rings or anything put to the
No,
line?
no, absolutely no interaction with them at all. It's just purely quiet visual observation, and a count is taken. And sometimes they come across the nests, the regular nesting sites. So that also is noted and documented, so that more protection is provided in those areas. So this information is what allows the department to enforce rules and safeguard. Sometimes we find that there's a certain population that is not in a protected area, it is outside. So then there is lobbying to include that as a protected area, and so on and so forth.
With AI coming in, has it made your job easier in terms of these cameras and spotting them and programming it, and then the sensors taking...
They have been using AI to deter human elephant conflict. So I'm not entirely sure in what way, because it is still at a very pilot phase. So it is supposed to warn you before the herd comes in.
Oh.
Yeah. So how exactly it does it, I'm not quite aware, but it is in the works, and they have been actively working to incorporate artificial intelligence in their day-to-day work, including the census, and but it is still at a very infant stage. So I think it will take some time.
Thanks for opening the snake area now. I mean, today in the urban areas, right, the snakes are all... Probably we are encroaching their space, because of which we are able to see them in our vicinity. Mistakes that people do when they look at snakes. Could you please throw some light there?
Yeah, the first mistake is to call all of them cobras. So even a rat snake is mistaken to be a cobra.
How do I identify? Like, because they mostly
Yeah.
movies, or even I am not comfortable with the sight of the snake, because not used to it, and the conditioning has been around fear and stay away. So suddenly today, even if you're showing a photo, I kind of take aback. So now people like me who are watching, what should we do actually?
Top 5 venomous snakes in your urban areas are: you will find a spectacled cobra, a Russell's viper, saw-scaled viper, and a common crate.
Spectacle, Russell, rat.
No.
Sorry.
Spectacled cobra, saw-scaled viper, common crate, and your Russell's viper.
Saw scaled, okay.
Yeah, those are vipers that are really small. They're usually found around your coconut trees and your coconut shells. They're really tiny. They're hardly about 5 or 10 centimeters that sit in crevices, and they're generally not very aggressive, but they are one of the venomous snakes that you will commonly encounter. And the antivenom also is to treat only these 5 bite wounds.
Probably since you're an expert and you have some understanding because you've seen them, you know how to identify the snake. Probably can you tell us where these snakes are found so that like you gave an example, like the coconut thingy. So likewise, are there places that we should be like
Yeah,
watchful?
any place that is dark, humid, and cool at the same time, you should tend to be aware. You're especially in areas where you've piled up cardboard boxes or your shoe racks and coconut husks, and in barns where you've got bales of hay, wherever they can go in and they can hide. So you have to be a little wary. You have to be a little careful. So
Why
they
do
also,
they hide?
huh?
Why do they hide?
It's good shelter. They would only usually come out to hunt, and then they would like to go in and just rest. So, but these are the places that you would commonly encounter them.
Cool. Today, the cars also have the meshes put under the chassis, and because I think there has been cases
I think that is more to deter rats than snakes.
rat, and at times because the rats are inside.
The snakes tend to come in,
Ah,
and that's how they get caught.
right.
Yeah.
Cool. So now you were talking about the types of snakes that one should understand.
Yeah, the spectacled cobra was I think one of the most commonly identified snakes because it raises its hood and it's got a pattern on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And the rat snake doesn't do that. It although looks like a cobra from externally to an untrained eye, but otherwise the difference is quite stark, and they're longer, and you can just make out that it's a rat snake if you see it more than a few times.
Okay.
Russell's viper has a very distinct pattern. It has a triangular head, and if it's threatened, the position that it takes to strike is very coiled, and then it's ready to sort of lunge at you
Oh, jumps, huh?
to a certain distance, and they're very quick. But they have a very nice diamond pattern on the body and they're very colorful. They're not the cobras tend to be a little more duller. Bandit crates, very simple. They're black with white stripes.
Mm.
Sorry, the common crate. The bandit crates are yellow and black. The common crates is what you would commonly see in your urban areas. But treat all snake bites as dangerous bites, and you should immediately get medical help.
What should I do?
You should go to a hospital.
Before which, would you like to bust all the myths?
The only idea is don't panic. Don't do anything that will get your blood supply running.
Like don't tie it, clot it further.
If you're sure that it is not a viper bite, then don't put a tourniquet, because viper bites are hemotoxic. So if you tie a tourniquet and you restrict the blood supply, so the venom can just fester in that area and then it can cause gangrene. So, but I personally advise not to waste time doing these things, and you get to a hospital as soon as you can without panicking.
That's the first
I think because
best aid.
what are you achieving by doing these things at home?
What are these remedies like people putting chili powder?
See, madam, the only treatment for a snake bite venom is antivenom. And anything else that you do, you are just wasting time. Valuable time you're wasting. And wash the wound if you're scared of infection. You may wash the wound with an antiseptic. But beyond that, I think you should just get to a hospital where antivenom is available as soon as possible.
And also sucking the blood out and then
No, that is
spitting.
far more dangerous. So because if the person who's sucking the blood out so after a snake has bitten you, the venom has reached your circulatory
taken
system.
into the bloodstream.
Yes, so it's not sitting in a pocket where you can suck out and spit it out. Also, if you have cuts in your mouth, so you are envenomating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, like I said, you are wasting the valuable time of the person that has gotten bitten.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the golden hour here once you get bitten by a snake?
Ideally, as soon as possible. But I think you've got a little more time with viper bites than with your cobra bites. Cobras, I think 6 hours or 8 hours, I think is the time it takes for it to fully act. Whereas I think viper bites, depending on the volume of venom, it can take even 1 or 2 days. So, but ideally get help as soon as possible.
That's still a sight of relief. Like cobras also has given you 4
No, but
to
you will
4
have
to 6 hours.
that is the time it takes for the venom to fully act on you. But because it starts curdling your blood, viper bites are hemotoxic, so your blood starts getting clotted or thin. It starts thinning. So it will cause damage wherever it the blood supply has stopped. So if it is bitten your finger, and if it starts acting in that area, so the more time you waste, the more chance that you will lose your finger. So it might not kill you, but there will be certain amount of damage.
Mm-hmm. So thanks. So is there a, like, where's a trend headed? Like today we have so many shortcuts. In 10 minutes the groceries are coming to you. Matlab, things are just getting easier. But when it comes to these kind of emergencies, are they ready-made kits available, like a anti-venom thing that I can carry?
I think you can purchase and keep it, but eventually you will require a setup to administer it yourself, because it has to go intravenous. And antivenom also can cause anaphylaxis. It can put you into shock. So it has to be titrated and given at the right dose by a trained physician who can observe if you are reacting to the antivenom itself sometimes, because it's a protein complex that is administered. So you can also sometimes react to it. So it has to be done under supervision always.
No shortcuts. Like today you have these diabetes pens and all of that. To some extent you can kind of...
Yeah, that is also after the doctor sees your trend, your sugar trend, your glucose trend, and then he advises so much to be taken and at so many doses. So, but this is not like that.
So here, is it that research has not been taken place, or there is not enough cases to give so much attention?
No,
to
there's
these?
a lot. Snake bites are now treated as an epidemic. Like COVID. Like how COVID was called an epidemic, snake bites in India are termed an epidemic now. Because there are so many cases. So there's no shortage of cases, but I think there's also no shortage of people trying to do things themselves. I don't know why it has always, especially snake bites. I think part of the problem is that you want to do something first before you go. Like if you meet with a road accident, you will go to the hospital immediately. But with a snake bite, there is always let's do this, let's do that, and none of that works.
What's
as
the
far as
funniest
I know.
you've come across? Funniest or the weirdest thing that people have done apart from things I've mentioned, so that we can tell them, please don't do that. Like apart from the chili powders and turmeric.
For snake bites.
Yeah, sucking the blood out, or
I've seen people, I have
tonicating it.
seen, when I was in college, I have seen our college, the cook in our mess. So he was trying to suck the blood out of somebody who got bitten by a rat snake. And it was quite a sight. Yeah, but I think we tend to see a lot of things more often than not.
Thanks for educating us. Next time, I think hopefully we'll be more vigilant.
Yeah.
Understanding and reacting what to do when.
Yeah, treat snake bites as an emergency always. Don't waste time trying to figure out what kind of snake. You can educate yourself to the point where you can identify between a venomous and a non-venomous snake. Like I said, these 5 snakes are not difficult to recognize for anybody. Even a school kid can be taught to identify these snakes because they are very visually different. And if you can do that so that you know what you're faced with, otherwise treat it like a snake bite and get help.
So the green snake which is on the plant, so non-venomous. Field snake.
The green vine snake.
Yeah.
Green vine snake is mildly venomous but not strong enough to cause death.
And the field snake, like I had a snake coming into my house. I was so scared to like even look at it, dude. I'm serious. That's why I'm asking, like, how can one get comfortable with the idea of looking at a snake? Like, any tips on that?
If you're talking about being phobic, then there's a reason why you're phobic to something that appears to look like a snake. So you might have a phobia to anything that is scaly, that is shiny, that doesn't
reptiles
have,
in general,
that doesn't have form. Or you may just be phobic to reptiles, like even your wall lizards. You might be. So you might have a phobia of reptilian skin, or the idea of a reptile, big colorful eyes and slit. So there's a whole reason why you're phobic, and I think that needs to be addressed. But otherwise, if you just look at it as an animal that is just trying to survive, it's sharing your common space. If it is venomous, I'm not saying live with it, but identify why it's coming there and what it's coming there for. So it might be a place where it is habituated to lay eggs. So before a building came up there, it must have been an empty plot where it used to lay eggs, and now there's a garden there, and now it is coming there out of habit. Or it might be a reason, like I said, so there might be a shelter for it to come, and it might prefer a shelter away from the rain and the sun. Or there might be an abundance of frogs in the vicinity. People have artificial ponds in the backyard, which attracts frogs, and then that also attracts snakes. So when you understand that cycle, I think it becomes a little bit easier to understand why they're there in the first place.
So these phobias, these are all like innate nature, or is it all put and instilled?
I'm not sure. I think a psychologist will be in a better position to answer that, just because I don't have enough knowledge to speak on it. But I think phobias are of both forms. I think most of them are acquired, and some are arising out of some kind of unresolved situation.
Subconsciously there is something sitting there. Okay.
Some kind of a trauma in childhood, maybe, that has not gotten addressed.
Like also I think there's one video which went viral. Like babies were like led to play with snakes. Matlab, bachpan se wo agar if you have conditioned it, so it'll basically think, yeah, it's another.
Yeah. So we've seen a few videos that have come out of Taiwan and Indonesian islands where they're playing with these small snakes.
Reptiles, right.
Yeah, I think it's just your culture to culture. It varies.
Amazing. Now I think I have some tiger myths. Please help us.
Yeah.
So how many tigers have you seen in your life? Matlab, real, like face-to-face interaction or?
I think about 15 or 20 now.
Wow. What was your first reaction when you saw the tiger for the first time?
My first reaction and my next reaction will be the same. I am always mesmerized by that animal. So just like I said, it is so fear-mongering and graceful and commands so much respect at the same time, and looks also so flamboyant. So it's very hard to take your eyes off. It's not just me. I think everybody around the world is quite amazed by the sight of a tiger. Yeah.
So the myths: tigers become man-eaters because they enjoy human flesh.
No,
sorry, human flesh.
No.
Human flesh. Yeah.
No, like I said, they don't have the luxury to have an affinity towards a cuisine. So no, I think they become man killers out of necessity for survival. It's purely that, and that's all it is.
All tigers are aggressive, will attack on sight.
No, not at all. Not at all. Tigers are known to be aggressive. They are known to attack on sight, but not all tigers.
Tigers roar before attacking.
Yeah, they will roar before attacking to ward you off, to give you enough time to back off.
Oh.
Yeah. So they don't want to attack you on first sight, but if they feel threatened enough, they will roar like any other animal, like a dog will bark. So they will roar, elephants will trumpet to tell you that they are being threatened and they feel threatened by your presence, and not necessarily that they have to attack after that. So sometimes if a roar does the trick, then they will not. Yeah, but if you still further provoke them, then they might.
If you stare at a tiger, it won't attack you.
No, eye contact with any animal it can be perceived as
a
threat.
It's like inviting trouble.
It's like you're challenging the animal. And it's generally advised not to have, even with stray dogs in the area. It's not just tigers. Even with stray dogs in the area, they say that, don't look at it directly in the eye. And it's a form of challenge.
Tigers are always solitary and they never interact with other tigers.
No, it depends on the dynamic. Tigers are usually solitary predators, unlike lions that live in a pride. But a mother will live with the cubs for 2-3 years, so that time you can see 4 tigers roaming together. Now of late, we have seen the next generation is taking care of the litter of the mother's latest generation. So so it all depends on the dynamic of that area. A lot of factors play in: prey density and the number of tigers, and some tigers have learned to co-adapt. You sometimes see them overlapping territories and they don't fight each other off every time. But generally tigers are known to be solitary.
We are scared of tigers. What are tigers scared of?
I think themselves and elephants. Yeah, they try as much as possible not to cross paths with elephants. Although they will actively hunt out elephant calves. Yeah, but big male tuskers, big elephants.
They're scared of.
Yeah, they're scared of.
What are elephants scared of? Humans.
Humans, I think. Definitely humans. No, I'm just. But scientifically, I think they try not to interact too much with their own kind. Like a big male tusker would prefer not to. Against choice, he will, especially if an elephant is in must. So
What's a must?
must is a season of. It's a seasonal rise in testosterone in an elephant.
Like they say heat.
Yeah, that's the more colloquial word. But so they have a temporal gland secretion, and the testosterone levels are very high. That facilitates their breeding. So yeah, at that time, like an elephant which is not in must, might not want to involve itself with an elephant in must because he is not as charged as this one. And this one, the elephant in must will most often than not attack. It probably will attack the other elephant.
So
And
only males will come to must?
usually it's only males that come into must. Must is the term assigned only to males, but sometimes females also have a secretion from the same gland, but we don't quite know what is the purpose of that.
So there's this another name for it wherein the elephant goes mad, the solo elephant, like Onti Salaga they call in Kannada.
This is the must phase. This is the must phase in an elephant, wherein the elephant is deemed to be rogue and
God.
and reckless.
This usually stays for how long?
It depends. Sometimes it can last 3 months. Sometimes it waxes and wanes. 15 days it comes and then it goes off and then again it can come back. It depends on the kind of abundance of food that they're getting, the number of females around.
Fine. So now coming back to white tigers. White tigers are separate species?
No, they are not. They are just like how you have melanistic leopards. So you've got leucocystic tigers. So they are not albinos. They are
Too technical, I guess. So like, can you help us understand why are some tigers white and why is that some are orange?
So I
or
think
yellow?
white tigers are now mostly found in captivity. In the wild, it's extremely rare to find them
Why?
because they don't survive beyond the cub phase because they're stark white. So their survival is difficult. So they're easily
Exposed.
they're easily exposed.
Like zebras.
Yeah. So they're mostly, I think it is because of survival. They don't camouflage as well. That is my understanding. But you have a stable population of captive white tigers in the country. I think the first tiger was rescued by a king in Rewa, and from there it was bred, and then that's how the population of captive white tigers spread in India. In the wild, I'm not sure that we have a population that anybody has seen or photographed into adulthood.
Okay. So why are some tigers white and then most of them are
Yeah, it's a
orange
mutation. It's a genetic mutation, that's all. So albinos are animals that are fully, like they lack any kind of melanin. Melanin is the pigment that adds your
the color to the tiger?
To any animal. To any animal. So melanin is the pigment that adds color.
Like in humans, that decides the skin color. Dark light.
Yes. So
whitish.
melanin is the pigment that is responsible. So there are genes that are encoded that how much melanin you carry. And so you have black leopards, for example. So they're called melanistic because there's more abundance of melanin in the system.
Oh, that's
So
why
that's why they are all black. But they are not a different species. Albinos, they don't have any melanin at all. So they are born like that. So even to the point where the iris also is not black or brown. Even that is not pigmented. Your eyelashes also are white. And so those are albinos. So that also is a rare genetic mutation. And then you have leucocystic animals that are that have partial loss of melanin. So I think that is where these white tigers fall in. Leucocystic. So they still have those black stripes, which are duller in color, but that the pale orange is lost.
And these orange, I mean, the normal tigers, they fall into?
They are the
normal.
Yeah, they are the normal.
The extreme is
expression of them.
albinos and the other one is leucocystic. And these are the normal.
Yeah, then you have the extreme melanistic. You must have heard of these melanistic tigers in Simlipal in Orissa. So their stripes are thicker and they appear to be more black. So they have less orange than the other tigers. So these are all just genetic mutations. So they don't add to the survival of the species, or they don't mean much in terms of conservation of that species.
Neither do they influence the way the species behave.
No, not
Behavioral
at all.
changes.
Not
Yep.
at all.
Tiger stripes are all the same.
No,
Wait,
no,
very
no.
different.
They are all different. They are like fingerprints in a human. Stripes on a zebra, spots on a leopard, stripes on a tiger. They differ individually.
Tigers only live in dense forest.
Yeah, tropical rainforest is usually where they are found,
Why?
and however, they can adapt to scrub jungles, and they're highly adaptable. But their terrain, like I said, Siberian tigers, they live out in the open in snow-capped regions of Russia. So they are highly adaptable. The highest elevation of a tiger was found, I think, in Bhutan, where the tiger was spotted at the highest elevation in the world.
That's why it's called as a tiger's nest. Right?
They used to have tigers before, and then it was deemed that that Bhutan has lost its tigers, until at one point they discovered that on a camera trap they found one tiger at a very high elevation, where they thought tigers could not exist, but they are there. So they are a very adaptable species. Commonly, the Royal Bengal tiger is found in your tropical rainforest, and then you've got your Sundarban tigers that live in the mangroves of West Bengal, and then you have Siberian tigers that live in Siberia.
Interesting. The next myth: once a tiger becomes a man-eater, it can't be captured alive.
No, it can be captured alive. We have been capturing them alive. So I think now, in fact, shooting an animal down it's a lost cause. We don't. So that I think has not happened in a very long time, because we've got more experienced people. We've got good technology. We've got a lot of skill on field, wherein we don't need to go out and shoot an animal down. So it is possible to safely capture and relocate.
Tigers hunt only at night.
Yeah, they are crepuscular. So they prefer hunting in the darker parts of the day. So from dusk until dawn. But there are some that even we've seen tigers hunt even in the afternoon.
Why do they hunt from behind always?
Because they're ambush predators. They don't chase after the prey like a cheetah, for example. So they have to stalk, because they are also so big and stocky that they cannot run. They cannot maintain a high speed, and they can't physically chase after prey for so long. And also they are, if you're talking about a tiger in a tropical rainforest, it's got enough cover to hide and come close enough to just bound on the prey and
Hide
pick
and
it up.
seek.
Yeah. So and obviously that coming from behind is more natural.
Villagers, they have a mask put onto
Yeah.
their head so that they can scare the tiger off.
That was in Sundarban. So because tigers usually prefer to attack from the back, so they thought that if they wore the masks, so they have their face in the front and a mask at the back, so the tiger would get confused. But I think that sort of backfired over time, and then the tigers started attacking from both sides. And yeah, so that was in Sundarban. These bee honey collectors in Sundarban adopted this, but it worked for quite some time. So they found a way.
So are tigers scared of these scarecrows and all of that in the fields? Does
No.
that work actually? The concept of
Scarecrows works only to keep your birds that come to eat the grains. But over time, I think those birds also realize that. So I think that's why the scarecrows are moved every now and then. They're not kept in one place. So they are also moved about. If you keep them in one place, they'll come and sit. They'll perch on the scarecrow itself. Yeah.
becomes a stand for them.
Yeah.
The tiger that comes near villages is always a threat.
It is treated as a threat. It is usually treated as a threat, as a preemptive measure, so that we don't want to wait for an incident to occur. So if something, not just tiger, any animal that, like I said, has deviated from its natural way of life and it has come out, or if it keeps coming out, and then we treat it as a threat, and then a decision is taken accordingly.
Many of them would have asked you, right? Because in Bangalore, we have seen incidences of where these cats are coming into the apartment complexes and all of that. So we've had incidences like that. So why are they coming?
Are you talking about leopards that come into apartments? And
Yep.
because they share the common space. So invariably they are coming to pick up stray dogs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that is, stray dogs form a major part of their prey. So I'm going to refer to these animals as urban leopards. So these are not leopards that are coming from the forest. So there are buffers where these leopards stay that happen to be small patches of forest adjoining a city or a town, and they all come from there. And their major prey is stray dogs.
Oh. No wonder Nice Road has a lot of boards, right?
Nice Road, I think it cuts through a very wooded part of Bangalore. So that always had leopards. So those resident leopards are still very much there, and sometimes they come into those apartments because they've always been there.
Okay. Wildlife vets use tranquilizers that work instantly like magic.
No, they don't work instantly like magic, madam. That is a very common misconception. Wildlife anesthesia is an art as much as it is science, and it is a job that requires high precision and a lot of confidence before you take it up.
Precision, as in, you all have a point wherein you can hit them, you can't target them wherever.
Yeah. There are specific areas on the body depending on the animal that you can dart.
For example, elephants.
Elephants, you can dart the shoulder or the thigh. Basically,
Okay.
we target areas which have a high muscle mass. So we don't puncture the lungs. The neck has a lot of arteries and vessels that the needle can pierce. The face is definitely, don't touch the face. We have too many sensitive organs on the face. So we only target the
High
heavy
muscle.
muscled areas of the body.
Tigers?
All of them.
Same.
Yeah.
Shoulder and thigh is your go-to.
Yeah. Wherever it won't cause damage to the animal.
So one is a point where you're going to target. Then what happens?
Then the drugs we use are very different. So the drugs that we use for a tiger are not what we use for an elephant. So it depends from species to species. We have different drugs.
Because you know the amount of time it takes to penetrate into
No,
the
it's a
animal.
cocktail. So there is no one specific drug that we can use on this animal, and if you take so much for this animal, the animal will sleep. There is no guarantee like that. So we have to first assess the animal, see if it is in a condition wherein it can be sedated, and then depending on the condition and the scenario, we choose which drug to take or which drugs to combine. So there are hundreds of drugs. So we choose which one to take and how far are we traveling with the animal. There's a different drug for that. If it is a cub, it's a different one. If it's a pregnant female, there's a different drug.
Oh.
If it's a tusker in must, there's a different drug. If it's a juvenile animal, it's a different drug. If there's a lot of crowd, it's a different drug. And if you're doing it in the night, it's a different drug. So that's what I said. It's an art, and then we gauge the weight of the animal. So with leopards and tigers, it's fairly still not so difficult because we will be off by 20-30 kilos max. So an animal might be 100 kilos, but we might think it's 115 kilos. So we are not very off. But with an elephant, a 5-ton elephant will look the same as a 6-ton elephant. But you're talking about a difference of 1,000 kilos. And then we have to titrate the drug accordingly. But luckily the drugs that we use are extremely safe. And we commonly get to see that if there's an animal that has died during capture, so the media immediately labels as an overdose.
I was about to ask.
Yeah.
How do you handle the overdose cases?
That is usually not. That is a highly unscientific, and I think is the easiest way to arrive at a conclusion. Because the drugs that we use are so safe, they've been tested so much that when we load them up in a dart, it is physically impossible to overdose the animal. So even if you load up the full dart, it will not be enough to kill it. So that's the margin of safety of these drugs, and we do it knowing what we're dealing with. And yes, there can be accidents. You can overestimate the weight of an animal and end up giving more.
What happens in those cases? Like,
we have antidotes. So even if that does happen, we are in a position where we can revive the animal. Deaths happen due to the reason that the animal, first of all, is already compromised. So it's already compromised. So there's a reason why that animal is coming out. It might be sick. It might be old. it might be aged, it might be
Or a
handicapped, it might be carrying an infection.
Existing disease. Yep.
Yeah, and we don't know that, and we have no prior knowledge of the animal's history, but we still go in, and that can be one of the causes. Another cause is during capture, sometimes it can end up falling from a height, or it can go and immerse itself in water, and those are the reasons why usually we have, or the animal is chased around by people before we are there on the field. So that commonly we see with animals like gaur and nilgai and sometimes elephants also. So the animals are chased before we can come in and do anything. The animal has already been made to run around so much it causes exhaustion. So it's called capture myopathy. Like just like how you have when you go to the gym after a long time, and then your muscles are sore for the next few days because there's so much lactic acid that is released. So the animal starts accumulating lactic acid in the muscles. So that can cause kidney failure immediately. So as soon as we we sedate the animal, it can go into kidney failure, and that has nothing to do with the procedure that we have done. So there are multiple factors as to what causes, but unfortunately it is very quickly labeled that.
True.
So that brings down the morale of the people that are working, and that's also probably the reason why a lot of vets don't want to take up this as a field of as a primary line of work, because you can be celebrated, you can equally be pulled down, and
The most controversial and the funniest one: snakes drink milk.
No, I don't think they're not designed. Milk is not part of their diet. You can force it down its throat, but naturally they don't. Snakes are they're predators. They're not. They don't.
They usually eat rats and then
rats, small birds. Sometimes king cobras eat other snakes.
Oh.
And I don't think so.
I've been to Thailand's the Tiger Temple.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, I wasn't so conscious. Today, I regret my decision. Like walking the tiger. I mean, a lot of videos out there wherein they've been captured.
I think recently somebody got attacked also in one of those. An Indian tourist got attacked.
Can you please help us understand how are the tigers tamed? Are they drugged or what happens there actually?
So these are all smuggled cubs that are hand reared.
Hand?
They're hand reared. They're hand grown.
Reared.
Yeah, they're hand reared. And
what do you mean by hand reared?
So they are fed from when they were cubs. They have been fed milk, and they've practically grown up in captivity. And then they are in the process. They're also trained to respond to calls, commands, and gestures by sticks and prodding and all that.
So from cubs level only they have to train.
Yeah.
The bigger ones won't.
And also they are drugged in those areas, especially they are drugged. So that's the only way you can facilitate a safe interaction between the public and the animal. So they're partially drugged, and so they get used to the routine, but sometimes they snap. Because they always have the instincts are always there. So sometimes they snap, and then it's a very disgusting practice. It should not exist in today's world.
And today what's happening, like outside, people are like having these cubs at home. Like different countries
That's where it stems from. So developed countries like the US are no less. So the highest number of Bengal tigers are in Texas in the world. They are not in India.
They're all like having it as a pet.
Yeah, you find them locked up in gas stations in the US. So they're locked up in small cages in a gas station. It's just somebody's fancy. And you're talking about a developed country that preaches so high in terms of conservation. But that is the sad truth.
Culturally and emotionally not so developed, I would say.
Yeah, there are so many like that. So this is just one example. There's a nice documentary called The Elephant in the Room. You should watch it. So that throws light on these animals being kept as pets. South Africa is another hub. So you've got private game reserves where you see now they're all social media influencers that have lions jumping on them, and they feed with them and they eat with them, and it's a rather unnecessary practice. You should ideally just leave them alone. You're just milking the glamour of a species. But luckily India is quite strict that way, and that there's no scope for these kind of things. So the closest you can get to a wild animal is on a safari.
What are your favorite safaris of India? Like many parks are there, I'm sure.
I usually don't go on safaris. So, because I don't need to go. And
You've
I
seen
don't have the
enough?
time to go because it is
Okay.
my place of work. So this concept of safari is not there. And the way I look at it is very different. So ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to work with the species. And I do enjoy seeing them. I enjoy taking pictures. And it's always a good sight.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think my favorite safari was in the Chambal River in Madhya Pradesh, where I could see nesting vultures. So this was not a forest department safari. So this was one of the fishermen who fishes on the Chambal River who happened to take me, and
When was this?
this was earlier this year.
Oh,
Yeah. So and that was the first time that I saw Egyptian vultures and long-billed vultures nesting in the rocks. And that was that. Like I said, you have to speak to the locals. When you speak to the locals, they tell
no
you all
wonder
these
you said
things,
that.
and
Mm.
so these are not designated safaris that you would find on, but it's still an experience.
Locals also, do you have any pinpoints like the boat guy or
India is full of locals. You go wherever you go, you find a tea stall and you speak.
start a conversation? They will
Yeah, I
open
think
up.
it's as easy as that.
You've been part of camps wherein elephants are tamed. We are curious to know, how do you all tame an elephant?
So there's a mix of both positive and negative reinforcement, because it is an animal that understands both. So uh, they're not as simple as just getting them to do what you want them to do based on treats.
Mm-hmm.
They are animals that can differentiate between commands, and these
For
commands are in
example?
Kannada. These commands are in, so the commands that the elephant caretakers use, the mouths that they use, are a mixture of Kannada, Bengali, Persian, Urdu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How many languages do elephants understand?
So they understand these commands and they can differentiate. So they say
Kannada,
bite,
Bengali,
he will sit.
Urdu.
He will say dale, he will open his mouth.
Dale.
Yeah. So that is that language. So that's a mixture of, it's come down from thousands of years.
Can you give us some 5-10 commands that we would
I
want to hear?
don't know all of them.
Whatever you've heard.
I don't know. There's bite, there's dale, and then there's so many. There's tirpu and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Ut, bite. So it's like that. So there's so many, and it differentiates sometimes from, there are small regional changes also. So somebody from Coorg will have a different word than somebody from, say, for example, Uttar Pradesh. So, but they're able to differentiate. So it's
Sounds.
it's a very complex animal. So sometimes they are gently nudged not to behave a certain manner. They can get greedy and try to grab more food. So they are
Oh.
nudged on the trunk or on the leg. And sometimes they are trained by feeding. So if they perform a certain task, then they're given a treat, sort of, or they're given a rub on the face, or
What are the tasks that they are expected to perform?
it's mostly obedience. So a captive camp elephant is expected to obey the caretaker, because
Like-
the safety of the caretaker is also equally important.
And the camp.
Yeah, and the animal also. You don't want an animal being labeled as a rogue
A
animal.
rogue animal. Yeah.
So the more obedient he is, it's better. It's a sympathetic relationship. So and they're quite smart that way. They pick up. So
So
they know.
generally it's
Yeah.
what? Sit, stand, eat.
No, eat
Tranka.
and all they do on their own.
Mhm.
It's what you want the animal to do. So you want it to raise its leg so you can get on top. So you train it to raise the leg. And you want it to lie down so you can dust his back. So there's a command to make it lie down. There's a command to open the mouth so you can administer medication or those kind of things. And it's what you want the animal to do.
Nice.
Yeah, but all of these have a purpose. All the commands have a purpose. There is no circus act. So none of these commands are to engage in pleasure. So these are all strictly related to your daily work.
Any word of advice for people who are aspiring to be wildlife vets?
Yes, please aspire, continue aspiring. Like I said, right now in the state, we've got hardly 2 or 3 people that are working with, full-time working with wildlife. And it requires more takers. It's a passion-driven field.
Mhm.
And you have to be in it for the long run. And it's not just, working with tigers or elephants, and I think that forms a very small part of your work, although that is most highlighted. But don't come for that. Don't come to
Always don't come for the cherry,
yeah
come for the cake.
yeah, and don't come with the intention of capturing animals. So I always say that when we go on a elephant capture or a tiger capture or a leopard capture or whatever, so there's no victory there. So after if I'm involved in the capture of a tiger, a man killer or a crop raiding elephant, and there is nothing for me to feel proud about. So it is a lost cause. So we have gone to salvage. So damage is done. We are trying to cut loss. So don't come with the idea as a vet that you are going to be catching around a hunter. You're a vet. So you have been called to address the problem. You have not been called to catch the animal. So there's a huge difference there.
So the real deal is when you address a situation and let it back.
When we pick up an animal that is in conflict from that situation, it is one to make sure that the situation is not prolonging. So we remove that animal there so that sentiment ends there. So there we are not giving an opportunity for that species to be labeled as a problem species. We are not allowing the public to take matters into their own hands and kill the animal, because then that will become the norm. We are not allowing hunters to come and hunt the animal like how we used to do before. So now the doctor is called in to remove the animal from that place so that the animal is safely transported. A safe future is guaranteed for the animal. At the same time, the public is free from that particular problem. And so, but that should not be treated as something that you are proud of. So don't be proud to catch an animal. So that is because a lot of damage has happened before for that animal to even be there in that moment. So it's like I said, it's a lost cause. There's no victory there.
See, is there enough money as a motivation to get into this?
It's subjective. It depends on how much money you require. Like if you want to drive a BMW, this is not the job for you. Yeah, that much I can tell. But if you want to live a happy, comfortable life, then it's good enough.
Happiness is always subjective, right?
It's subjective, so it depends on a person to person.
If you enjoy the wildlife, if you enjoy your quality of life through these, and the sense of satisfaction and all of that.
Everything else usually takes a backseat when you're working with wildlife.
Yeah.
So you're so mentally enriched that you will find happiness. Yeah. So these experiences keep you going.
Amazing. Now, what book are you reading these days?
I have recently started reading The Greatest Show on Earth by Richard Dawkins.
What is that about?
It's about evolution and about how evolution lays the foundation for your biological existence. And I think currently I'm reading that.
I'm sure you've read the Sapiens and...
Sapiens, yes. Yuval Noah Harris's Sapiens. I've read long back.
So these are the kind of books that you're always into?
No, it depends. So it can go from comics to thrillers to anything that catches my interest.
Wow. Any point that you should be mentioning? Probably next time I'm in Bandipur, these things will definitely ring a bell. I'm like, oh, okay.
Maybe you should. Gopalswamy Betta is an amazing place that has a very, very old cultural history. So wherein before the Mysore kingdom came into being, so the first ancestors of that kingdom, they found their way to Gopalswamy Betta and then they prayed, and so there are so many stories around Gopalswamy Betta. So if you just go there and speak to the priests, so they'll tell you a lot of tales.
I think I should get him also on the show.
Yeah.
Like the Gopalswamy Betta's priest.
Yeah, you can talk to them. So they have a lot of stories. If you meet one of the old priests that have been there and served there, so they'll tell you, and they've got a lot of stories to share, mystical stories to share.
Amazing. Thanks again. Thanks for being here for the second time.
Pleasure is always mine, ma'am.
You can call me Rashmi, sir. I think it's just 2 languages for now, and had the pleasure to host you, and
Pleasure is always mine.
dig deep through your experiences and journey. So wish you the best always. And lastly, of course, before we end the show, again, I'm going to give you a book.
Oh.
I don't know what I gave you last time. Forgot. But have you read this Murakami
No,
by
I have not.
Norwegian Wood?
No, I haven't read.
Would you like to read
Yeah,
this?
of course.
Or would this interest you? I'm not sure.
No, I think I've got that at home.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So while I sign this, yes, you will have to help us nominate 3 guests whom we should be hosting on Just Curious India this time.
You should meet my boss, Mr. Prabhakaran.
Mm-hmm.
He's an IFS officer. He's the director of Bandipur Tiger Reserve. He's also a cricketer by passion. I think he went quite far in his cricketing journey,
Mm-hmm.
and he's quite a young gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's around my age or very close to my age,
Mm-hmm.
and phenomenal, just a very phenomenal being. So you should meet him.
Why did you say phenomenal?
Just the way he conducts himself, the way he is, and the way he's managing the reserve, and the
Bandipur.
amount of patience he's got.
What's the
And,
strength of Bandipur Reserve? I mean, the human resource strength?
See, the strength of the reserve is at the grassroot level. So the beat guards and the people that man the checkposts. So they are the ones that are in the forest, and they are the eyes and ears of the forest. So if anything happens, any animal dies or anybody intrudes, they're the first people to contact. And then you have the hierarchy goes up, and then obviously on top of it all, you need a boss
Mm-hmm.
who is able to handle all the stresses that the reserve will throw at you, and still maintain a calm front, not be impulsive.
Wow.
So that's I think his major strength. So luckily I've always had bosses that have not been impulsive. So I've also learnt a lot from them, because it's very easy to get carried away in a situation of anxiety. So if there's an animal there's a human death, or there's an animal that has come out, and there's a mob, so there's so much chaos, there's so much anger, there's so much filth, and it's not a pretty situation to be in. But to keep your head straight and think in respect of the animal and the people, console them on one side, and then also figure out if catching that animal will solve the problem. Sometimes we don't catch, sometimes we do. So taking those decisions at a time like that
Mm-hmm.
is what makes the man.
And also handling the system, bureaucrats,
Yeah.
that pressure.
Yeah, so they're all they're working in an environment of
Mm-hmm.
such high pressure, and to still be able to talk to you nicely and then entertain you and sit and laugh with you it's a huge
I think that's also a secret,
Yeah.
I guess.
yeah
By doing that, you're kind of releasing the pressure there, and then nice.
yeah.
So the overall strength of Bandipur in terms of manforce today is what?
it goes in thousands. It
Uh-huh.
goes in because it's one of the biggest reserves in the country.
Right.
So some 600 square kilometers, 700 square kilometers, and you've got 13 ranges, and each range has beat guards, foresters, and range forest officer, and ACF, and so on and so forth. So it goes into thousands. Anti-poaching camp staff, elephant task force,
Mm-hmm.
your tiger protection task force.
Mm.
So it goes into thousands. There are a lot of people.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, madam.
And we have some treats to spoil you.
How sweet.
That's from Polar Bear. That's a Sunday jar. Thank you.
Thank you. So does this need to be kept in the fridge?
I guess. Athwa, you can. I think there is some silica gel or something there. Yes. How was Just Curious India for you?
Yeah, quite good, ma'am. Enriching as always. It's always it's not an interview, it's a conversation with you.
Thank
So I
you.
like how you've got so much background, and you ask so many questions that need to be asked, which
Mhm.
otherwise are usually lost in translation.
Mm.
So it has been, and it's good for me also to recollect my experiences and then share whatever I can in the best possible way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And any last note for our audience who are watching outside Karnataka?
Like, share, and subscribe.
And anything on the jungle front?
Yeah, watch the full podcast, and then try to be as aware as possible as citizens, and spread the message, and create a sense of patience and tolerance among children for wildlife, because they are who we are all working for.
Mm-hmm.
So if we save our animals and our wildlife today, is we allow the next generation to experience what we've experienced.
And also,
So-
jungles are one of the best getaways to not get caught into the screens, right?
Yeah. So
And,
there's no network, and it's a good recharge. A good recharge for your soul.
Thank
Try
you.
to save those spaces as much as possible.
And save yourself
Yeah.
in the journey. Thank you.